The Pokédex of Legends Arceus describes this one with a word it spends on almost nothing else. Not fierce, not savage. Resentment. In the language the entry was first written in, the word is plainer and worse. It is the word for a grudge, the kind a dead thing carries. And it is not a metaphor here. The file is telling us, in the flat voice it uses for wingspans and diets, that this small white fox in the snow is alive because of how badly it did not want to forgive. Most of the creatures cataloged in this region are described by what they hunt, or how they hide, or what they fear. This one is described by what it could not let go of, after it had already died once. This is a record the games left unfinished. Most people who meet it never read that far. What they see is a good design, a white and red fox where there used to be a black and red one, a wintry reskin of a fan favorite from years ago, tucked away in the snowiest corner of the map. It has a slightly spooky look, a slightly sad look, the kind of creature that ends up on a lot of people's teams because it photographs well against the ice, and because the older version of it was a movie star. A ghost type, sure. Pokémon has 100 ghost types. They are usually a wink, a jack-o'-lantern, a sentient grudge in the shape of a sword, a haunted candle. Cute creepy. Halloween in a monster-catching game. So the white fox gets filed beside all of those. A spooky variant. A reskin with a moody palette. But the file does not read like a design choice. It reads like something that happened to a living thing and was written down afterward by someone who knew exactly what it meant. The first crack is in the one place no one looks, the type line, normal/ghost. And here is the detail that should stop a careful reader cold. In the entire history of these games, across more than 1,000 creatures and 25 years, no Pokémon had ever been that combination before. This little fox is the first. It was given a pairing the series had kept empty until then, as if it had been waiting for exactly the right tragedy to use it on. Look at what those two types actually mean side by side. Normal is the type of the ordinary and the living, the plain, breathing, everyday creatures, the ones nothing strange has happened to. Ghost is the type of the dead, and this fox is both at the same time, held together in one body. Not a living thing, not a clean spirit. A living thing and a dead thing, occupying the same small shape, which is only possible if it used to be the first and became the second, and then, somehow, refused to fully finish the change. There is no clean word for what that leaves behind. Not a living animal. It is dead, and the file says so plainly. Not a proper ghost either, because it still carries the ordinary breathing type of the creature it used to be, as if some part of it never accepted the news. It is caught between the two permanently, the way grief catches a person between the life they had and the loss they cannot walk past. The type line is not trivia. It is a diagnosis, and the file tells us why it had to run in the first place, and the reason is its own gift. Its kind were driven out of the lands where they were born, chased off by people who feared them, not for being dangerous, for being able to make illusions. For the one thing the fox could do that no one else could: show people things that were not there. Think about what that does to the people around it. A creature that can look like anything, that can take the shape of a neighbor, a friend, a child, is a creature that makes the whole world untrustworthy. With one of them nearby, you can never again be certain that what stands in front of you is what it appears to be. That was the threat, not claws, but the loss of certainty. And so the people did what frightened people do to the thing that unsettles them. They cast it out, not for harming anyone, but for making them doubt their own eyes. To feel how far it fell, you have to know what it was. The original of this creature comes from a warmer, distant land called Unova, and it is not white, and it is not a ghost. It is a dark type, black-furred, red-maned, a clever living animal called the illusion fox. And its oldest, deepest trait, the one the whole design is built around, is not menace. It is devotion. The grown form is famous above all for a single thing. It uses its illusions to protect the ones it loves. In the film that made it a star, a Zoroark drives the entire story as a parent desperate to reach its young, throwing vast illusions across a whole city to shield a child and find its way back to it. Its signature ability simply lets it appear as another, so that whatever comes hunting strikes the disguise instead of the truth. That is the creature at its core. A parent that lies to the world to keep its children safe. Now set that beside the small thing in the ice cave. The same fox, the same gift for illusion, the same buried instinct to stand in front of the ones it loves, but driven from its home, killed by the cold, and brought back inside out, so that the talent it once used to shelter its family is now a weapon made of spite, and the devotion is buried so far down that the file can barely find it. The Hisuian form is not a brand new monster. It is a loving thing that was broken. It was exiled for its only talent, cast out of every home it had by frightened humans for the crime of being uncanny. So they ran, and the file is very precise about where they ran to and what it cost them. They came north to the frontier, to Hisui, the ancient, half-tamed wilderness, the harshest land in their world, and the harshness finished what the exile started. The Pokédex does not soften it, and it does not blame a predator. It uses the single bluntest word available. They perished, not were defeated, not fell in battle, perished. The word reserved for things that simply could not survive the conditions they were left in, the cold and the strife and the hunger of a land that had no place for them either, took them the way the cold takes anything small and unwanted and alone. And remember when this is happening, Hisui is the ancient world, an age long before people and Pokemon learned to live side by side, when humans feared almost every creature in the wild and kept to their villages behind walls and suspicion. These foxes did not flee persecution into a kinder time. They fled it into the one era least able to take them in, a frontier where even a gentle person would have bolted at the sight of them. There was no door anywhere that would have opened, so they went as far as there was to go, to the edge of the map, into the snow, and when there was no farther to run, the snow finished it. And now consider where the game puts them for a player who wants to find one. Not a meadow, not a forest. You travel to the snowfields at the top of the world, to a region the map names the Alabaster Icelands, and within it to a stretch of frozen ground called the Bone Chill Wastes. And there you find a hole in the ice, and you drop down into a cave, and at the back of that cave, in the dark and the cold, is the fox. Read those names again. Bone Chill. The game did not hide its frozen dead somewhere warm and ironic. It buried them in the one part of the world made entirely of cold, in a cave under the ice, exactly where a small thing would have crawled to get out of the wind, and exactly where a small thing would have stopped. To meet a Hisuian Zorua, you go down into the ice and find it where it died. And it is a child. That is the part the design quietly insists on. Zorua is the small one, the young one, the kit, the pup, the early form. The thing in the cave is not an ancient monster. It is a young one that did not get to grow up, that froze in the dark of a frontier it was driven to, and that has been down there in the ice ever since. There is a particular kind of grief reserved for a small thing that dies before it grows, and the game reaches for it deliberately. We are not asked to mourn a fearsome adult that lost a fight it chose. We are asked to climb down into a freezing cave and find a young one, a kit that ran as far as its legs would carry it from people who would not have it, lay down in the cold because there was nowhere warmer to lie, and did not get up. And then something worse than not getting up. Years later, in the same dark, it got up anyway, changed, still down there, still a child, and no longer one. Here is what brought it back, and it is the cruelest mechanism in the whole new generation, because it is the one we understand best. Nothing kind reanimated this fox. No loyal trainer, no unfinished promise, no love strong enough to outlast the grave. The file is unflinching about the engine of its return. Its lingering soul was reborn through the power of its own malice, its resentment toward the world that had done this to it. It did not come back because something pulled it back. It came back because it would not go, because the grudge was heavier than death, and death lost. The games even have a name for that exact thing. There is a move in this series simply called grudge, the last act of a creature as it faints, reaching out from the edge of unconsciousness to take something from whatever struck it down, so that its end costs the one who caused it. That is the whole idea of this fox, made flesh and given a body to wear. It is a grudge that refused to finish dying. Think about how rare that is, even in a world full of ghosts. Most of this world's spirits were always strange, old objects gone restless, wandering souls, things that were never quite alive in the ordinary way. This one was a plain, breathing animal, a normal type, the most ordinary category there is, that died a death so bitter, so unjust in its own reckoning, that the bitterness alone was enough to haul it back across a line almost nothing crosses. It was not strong. The file is clear that its living self was weak, unable to survive. It had nothing going for it but the grudge. and the grudge was enough to beat death. That should tell us how much the grudge weighed, and look at what the grudge did to it on the way back. The warm dark of the living animal is gone, bleached out, drained to a corpse white, the color of a thing left too long in the snow. Only the red remains, bleeding up through the white at the edges of its fur, like something that will not wash out. And there is a loop buried in it, darker than any color. While it was alive, fear is what killed it. The fear of the people who exiled it. The fear that left it nowhere to go. Now, in death, fear is what keeps it standing. The file says it draws strength from the terror of those who witness its illusions. The thing that died of being feared now feeds on being feared. It cannot get free of the emotion that ended it. It can only, at last, run on it, sustained by the exact thing that drove it out into the snow. The illusions it once spun for mischief, for play, are made of something else now, a spiteful power that rises off its fur as visible energy. And when one of these foxes meets a lone traveler in the snow, the shape it chooses to take is the detail I cannot get out of my head. It does not become a beast. It does not become a nightmare. It looks at the lonely person who has stumbled into its cold, and it becomes a copy of them. It shows them their own face standing in the snow. The official line is that it does this to lure, and that it feeds on the terror that follows. I am sure that is true, but it is hard not to read something else underneath it. This is a creature that died alone, of being alone, in a place no one would share with it. And the single thing it does when a living being finally comes near is conjure a second figure that looks exactly like them. So that, for one moment, in the cave where it froze, there are two of something instead of one. The living fox, the one back in Unova, always turned its illusions outward. It became other creatures, became threats, became distractions, to guard its own or to fool a hunter. This one turns the illusion inward onto the witness and makes a twin. Of every shape in the world it could have borrowed, it reaches for the shape of the single living thing that came close to it. There is no reading of that which is not, trap or not, a little unbearable. Maybe that is only a trap. Maybe mimicry is all an illusionist has left. Or maybe the last wish of a thing that died unwanted, when company finally arrives, is simply to not be the only one standing there. Held to the light, even this changes. The game calls it the spiteful fox, the baneful fox. But spite was never what it was. Spite is only what was left over after everything else it wanted had been taken from it. There is one line in the file that does not fit the monster, and it is the truest line in the whole entry. For every word the Pokédex spends on this creature's malice, and it spends a great many, it says its grown form projects illusions of such utter hatred toward every last thing in the world that the people who see them are driven out of their minds. There is one quiet exception it cannot help but record. The grown fox, the Zoroark, hostile to all of creation, vicious to every human and every Pokémon it meets, keeps a single soft place for the ones it considers its own, for family. The very first time anyone ever laid eyes on one, in the footage that introduced it to the world, It was not attacking. It was standing in front of a small Hisuian Zorua, shielding the child from a stranger. To truly comprehend the depth of this tragedy, you have to look at what the evolution into Hisuian Zoroark actually costs it. The Unovan Zoroark weaves its illusions as a master artist paints a canvas, effortlessly, seamlessly, a trick of light and shadow born of natural talent. But the Hisuian form does not use magic. It uses agony. The Pokédex details that the terrifying, maddening illusions it projects are manifested directly from the cursed energy radiating from its long, writhing mane. It weaponizes its own post-mortem trauma, flooding the minds of its enemies with visions so intensely horrifying that they can drive a victim to genuine madness. But here is the detail that the game delivers with staggering cruelty. A piece of lore that elevates the creature from a simple, angry ghost to a profound tragedy. This cursed energy does not just punish the witness, it destroys the host. The official record explicitly states that the sheer volume of malice Hisuian Zoroark outputs is so volatile, so intensely violent, that it rends its own body from the inside out. The power it uses to keep the hostile world away is actively, agonizingly tearing it apart. Think about what that means for a creature whose foundational instinct is protecting its young. To throw up an illusion to shield a Hisuian Zorua is no longer just a clever misdirection. It is a literal act of bodily sacrifice. Every time it bares its fangs and unleashes the phantom terrors required to keep a hunter at bay, it is breaking itself to pieces. It is burning its own ethereal flesh as fuel. The resentment that brought it back to life is simply too massive, too caustic for its frail, half-living form to contain. It is a parent so profoundly traumatized by the world that it will gladly endure being shredded by its own hatred if it means buying its child another day of safety. It does not just hold a grudge, it is being slowly, permanently immolated by one. This is not a monster reveling in its ghostly power. It is a martyr caught in an endless loop of self-destruction, choosing to suffer the agony of its own curse rather than risk losing its family to the ice ever again. The thing that came back from the dead, full of hatred for the entire living world, still does. Underneath all of it, the one thing it did before the world ever turned on it, it puts its body between the ones it loves and the things that would hurt them. Its grudge is vast, vast enough to beat death. But the grudge is not the center of it. The grudge is just grief that was never given permission to be anything else. Strip the spite away, and what is underneath is not a monster's heart. It is the same heart it had when it was alive and small and looking for somewhere safe. It wants its family near, and it wants to keep them from being driven out into the cold the way it was. And the file ends on something I did not expect and can barely stand. It says that anyone who manages to earn the trust of one of these creatures, anyone who can get past the white fur and the red and the centuries of resentment, would find in it a fierce and unshakable ally, which means the grudge can be answered. The wound is not sealed. The thing that froze to death because no living soul would take it in is still, even now, even as a ghost holding the door open, waiting to find out whether someone, this time, will let it belong. It died of exile. It came back for revenge. But under the revenge, under the malice, under the corpse white fur, the only thing it was ever really asking the world for was the thing the world refused it: a place to stay and someone to stay with. It would still, even dead, even now, protect anyone who finally gave it one. We catch it, of course. We climb down into the bone-chill wastes, and we throw a ball, and we add the frozen child to a team, and we carry it back up out of the cave and into the open air it never got to live in. Maybe that is the nearest thing to mercy these games can offer it. Not an apology, not a way to undo the cold. Just this, that someone came down into the ice on purpose, looking for it, and did not run. The file stays open.